So picture this. You're walking down a sprawling, chaotic avenue right in the heart of a major city. The ambient noise is just deafening, right? The low, constant hum of traffic, a distant siren wailing, this chaotic blur of hundreds of nameless, faceless people just rushing past you. Everything around you feels completely, entirely normal. It's literally just another Tuesday. But then, out of the corner of your eye, the blur stops. You see someone familiar. Impossibly familiar. You completely freeze in your tracks. The noise of the city seems to just drop away as you lock eyes with a stranger, standing completely still in the crowd. And as you look a little closer, your breath catches in your throat, because this stranger has your exact face.
Suddenly, the air between you feels absolutely electric. You try to speak, to ask a question or demand some kind of explanation, and their lips part at the exact same moment. A cold wave of eerie, almost suffocating tension washes over you as you hear it. They have your voice, your exact cadence, your eyes. Now, this person standing across from you is not a twin. They're not a sibling you are somehow separated from at birth. They aren't related to you in any traditional sense of human history. But if you were to walk up, take their hand, and press their fingers against a pane of glass, you'd find the impossible. They possess your exact, completely unique fingerprints.
The mathematical odds of a human being looking perfectly identically like you naturally, we're talking roughly 1 in a trillion. It's practically impossible. Unless nature had absolutely nothing to do with it. And that's when the chilling realization slowly sets in. This person is a perfect, synthetic, biological copy of you. For the very first time in the long, chaotic story of humanity, another living, breathing version of yourself exists, walking the exact same earth, breathing the exact same air.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a scenario that has officially bled right out of the realm of science fiction and into the bright, clinical light of our very near future. The blueprint and the being. We are exploring the awe-inspiring and honestly, undeniably terrifying reality of human cloning, because if an exact molecular copy of you can literally be engineered in a laboratory,
It forces us to hit pause, to stop looking outward at the stars and start looking violently inward. It forces us to ask the ultimate question. What does it actually mean to be human? I mean, if your biology, the very code that built your bones and wired your brain, isn't entirely yours anymore, what is? This isn't just a question for biologists and lab coats anymore, folks. It's a profound, earth-shattering mystery of our own existence. Section 1. Crossing the Rubicon, the leap from myth to reality. For centuries, humanity has basically copied everything we could get our hands on. Books, machines, weapons, entire cities. But the desire to actually play creator, to copy life itself, that's a ghost that has haunted us since ancient times. We had all these myths of artificial humans, legends of clay statues brought to breath by the gods. They were beautiful, terrifying fantasies. But then, the fantasy fractured. In the 20th century, biology entered this golden, dangerous new age. We finally unlocked the hidden code of DNA.
Which inevitably dragged humanity all the way to 1996. A seemingly normal sheep named Dolly is born. But here's the staggering reality about Dolly. She was a clone. The very first time scientists had copied a complex mammal. And she wasn't some easy miracle either. She was the result of 277 previous failed attempts. Just a painstaking march of progress.
Right. And if a sheep could be cloned, the scientific community started to whisper, well, it was really only a matter of time until we reached the final milestone, the year 2098, the birth of the first human clone.
To even begin to comprehend how we get there, we really have to marvel at the sheer architecture of the divine. DNA, the blueprint of life. It's a wildly complex language. The human genome contains 3 billion base pairs. Just think about that, 3 billion letters of code intricately folded and packed inside a microscopic space in almost every single living cell in your body. It is an absolute masterpiece of evolutionary engineering. But history teaches us a very dangerous truth about languages, doesn't it? Once humanity learns how to read a language, the inevitable, unstoppable next step is learning how to write it, and then how to copy it.
Section 2. The blueprint versus the being, identity beyond genetics. Let's step forward in time. Let's step into the exact year where the impossible finally comes true.
The year 2098. After decades of quiet, heavily guarded advances in genetics, medicine, and artificial reproduction, the historic announcement is finally made. And the global shockwave? It doesn't just make headlines, it literally stops civilization in its tracks. Just imagine the breaking news chyrons flashing red across the globe, the floor of the United Nations falling completely, dead silent, governments scrambling in locked rooms, religious leaders grappling with a profound theological crisis. But the child at the center of this massive storm? They're perfectly healthy, physically identical to the person whose DNA was harvested, a true, breathing copy. But as this child takes their first steps, as the years tick by and the world just watches with bated breath, something deeply curious happens.
Time begins to reveal a fascinating, undeniable truth. The butterfly effect of human experience really takes hold. Imagine two identical blueprints built on completely different foundations. One grows up surrounded by wealth, buried in textbooks, eventually becoming a brilliant but kind of isolated scientist. The other grows up struggling, finding solace in paint and canvas, becoming this fiercely passionate artist. One experiences the warm embrace of deep, enduring love. The other is forged in the fires of profound, shattering loss. They develop different phobias, different senses of humor, different dreams that wake them up in the dead of night. Their distinct, messy, beautiful human experiences begin to completely override their shared genetics.
And so humanity is forced to accept a truly staggering reality. DNA creates a person's biology, but life creates their identity. The clone is only a copy of a physical vessel. It is not, and mathematically cannot ever be, a copy of a mind. We discover, with a collective sigh of awe, that identity simply cannot be manufactured in a sterile laboratory.
Which brings us to Section 3, A World of Echoes, the Ethical Storm.
Because once the first clone is accepted, once the impossible becomes merely expensive, the floodgates swing wide open. Normalization breeds a very dark curiosity. The questions start pouring in way faster than our legal systems can even answer them. Could a tech billionaire guarantee his corporate empire is run by an exact replica of his own mind, raised in his own image? Could wealthy individuals create private, fiercely loyal armies of themselves? Could powerful governments abuse this capability to engineer entirely compliant populations? And hey, what about the clones themselves? These are beings pulled into existence not by love or chance, but by design. Would society treat these artificial humans with equal grace? Or would we judge them, fear them? Would they be granted the full, inalienable human rights we hold so dear? Or would they be quietly categorized as patented intellectual property, just doomed to exist as second-class citizens, legally owned by the originals who commissioned them in the first place? This is the terrifying ethical nightmare we find ourselves tumbling right into. We're forced to ruthlessly interrogate our own morality. If a human being is artificially created, if their biological blueprint was literally selected from a digital catalog rather than the random chaos of nature, are they any less human? Do they possess a soul?
Actually, let's completely shift our perspective for a second. Imagine, just for a moment, being the clone. Every single day, you are living in a long, dark shadow you can never outrun. You look in the mirror and see a face that was famous before you were even born. Every achievement you make feels violently questioned by society. Like, did you earn it, or was it just programmed? Every success feels hollow, borrowed from someone else's genetic legacy. Every single mistake you make feels magnified, harshly judged against the supposed perfection of the original. People look deep into your eyes and wonder, are you really real? You have to fight tooth and nail every single day just to prove you are a person, not a mere duplicate.
We step into a haunting transformation of our entire world. Schools, legal doctrines, the very definition of family, all completely redefining themselves. The rigid line between what is natural and what is artificial just vanishes into smoke. We enter a civilization where identity is fundamentally decoupled from uniqueness, a reality where the phrase "one of a kind" simply ceases to exist.
And so we arrive at our final chapter, the real you, the final mystery. Let's peel back the dense layers of scientific breakthrough, look past the global shockwaves and those heavy ethical storms, and stare directly into the core of the human condition. I want you to ask yourself right now, sitting exactly where you are, what actually makes you? You. Is it your DNA? Because we've seen that can be decoded, copied, and printed. Is it your physical appearance? That can be perfectly duplicated. Is it your memories, the quiet moments of grief and joy, your choices? If an exact biological replica of you is standing right in front of you, breathing the exact same rhythm, which one is the real you?
It's a terrifying hypothetical, isn't it? But perhaps the answer is a miracle. Because while genetics can be cleanly duplicated in a petri dish, consciousness cannot. The mind remains the one beautifully stubborn ghost in the machine.
When the year 2098 arrives and the world changes forever, The greatest discovery won't be the cloning technology itself. It will be the profound realization that being human was never about DNA alone. It was about experience, choice, identity. Even if we find ourselves in a future completely flooded with perfect biological copies, your path, your heartbreaks, your joys, and your completely unscripted journey ensure one beautiful truth. There is, and will always be, only one you. But if the day comes when a perfect replica looks back at you from across a crowded room, will you be ready to prove it?